All right, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Dogon SS JV wins back for another edition to the Annals of the Conscious Approach channel on YouTube. Much appreciation to everybody who is tuning in. Thanks to everybody who's been hitting that like button, hitting the subscribe button, leaving those comments. We like to engage and we appreciate the feedback. So much appreciation to everybody who's been hopping on the train. And as we like to say at the opening or at the top of every stream that we do, if this is the first time that you are catching wind of what we do here on this channel, this is what we do each and every week, each and every day, each and every upload. So go ahead and subscribe to the channel and join the tribe, man. You are more than welcome as we continue to kick this logical content, baby. Now, with that out of the way, we're going to go ahead and get things kicked off. The first thing that we are going to talk about is comments made by Charlamagne in reference to Kamala Harris, who apparently Kamala Harris's team reached out to popular streamer Kai Cenat about joining his stream. And I guess the idea behind doing that is, you know, you're running for office and you want to reach the youth, I guess. And the youth are all about following these streamers and these YouTubers and these guys who stream. And what does Kai do? Like, he streams regular stuff like antics, but doesn't he also game too? Doesn't he like kind of run the gamut with the streaming? Yeah. So apparently Kamala's team reached out to hop on to Kai Cenat's platform. And Charlamagne didn't really like that. He didn't think it was a good idea. He felt as though it was forced. And he felt as though, even though he's in favor of candidates going to where voters, prospective voters at least, are, he nevertheless feels as though it should be organic and it shouldn't feel forced. And he feels as though the Kamala Harris campaign trying to ride the Kai Cenat wave was forced, and more specifically only done in direct response to Trump joining Aiden Ross's stream. Aiden Ross is like a Kai Cenat equivalent, who is probably more on the conservative side, I guess. You know, so this is just this weird new human internet stuff that we now this is this new human internet stuff that we now have to contend with whenever we're trying to figure out what the hell is going on. But to provide a little bit of context, we are going to show you guys what Charlamagne had to say about Kamala Harris's team reaching out to Kai Cenat. So it says Charlamagne the guy slams Kamala Harris for reaching out to Kai Cenat. Charlamagne the guy wasn't a fan of Kamala Harris's team reaching out to Kai Cenat about collaborating on a live stream. The Breakfast Club host discussed the story on Wednesday morning, days after Donald Trump spoke with Aiden Ross. He hit me and tell me who sent you that text, man, because whoever on Vice President Kamala Harris's team hit Kai Cenat to do a live stream, they need to be fired, Charlamagne began. So the rest of that, it just goes into his quote, but we'll do better than that. We'll go ahead and play the actual audio and video. So this, from there, Charlamagne theorized Cenat is certainly not a fan of Trump, but also clearly isn't interested in politics. So here is what Charlamagne had to say about the Kamala Harris team reaching out to Kai Cenat and how he didn't like it because he felt it was forced and inorganic.
Who gonna have the audacity to text me, we need you a part of the campaign? At first I was thinking she was talking about like a game, a video game, like a modern warfare game. I'm like, what campaign? If this some way, somehow, something was to go into where I do the stream of politics, I'm going to be 100% honest. I'm going to sit on my stream and say, why did you guys call me?
Drop on the clues bomb for Kai Cenat. Kai, hit me and tell me who sent you that text, man. Because whoever on Vice President Kamala Harris' team hit Kai Cenat to do a live stream, they need to be fired. Okay, stop letting social media run her campaign. You saw Trump go on Aiden Ross, and you saw the attention that garnered. You saw the headlines that got. You saw social media start saying the vice president needs to go on Kai Cenat, and you ran to go make that happen. Not even stopping to think, is this organic? Does Kai Cenat even care about politics? You know why?
Does he even know anything about it? Have questions? He might be supportive of Trump. We don't know.
No, he's not supportive of Trump. Cut it out.
You don't know who he supports.
I know he don't support no Trump. You know why the Trump Aiden Ross stream worked? Because Aiden Ross had real interest in Donald Trump. And I do believe politicians should absolutely meet people where they are, but it still has to make sense. Let it be something organic. There's a lot of places the VP can go to get in front of a younger audience. There are influences, Kai, age, you know. I don't know. Like I said, I'm all for meeting people where they are, but it also has to make sense.
But Kai Cenat has never even, I've never heard Kai Cenat mention politics one time. Not even talk about it at all.
No.
So we don't know what his interests are, what he cares about, what he likes. Not at all. We know he's the biggest streamer, but besides that, he's never mentioned politics.
If the vice president was to run the Kai now, she would just look like she's copying Trump.
Mm-hmm.
You know who I want to see the vice president sit with? I want to see the vice president sit with the 85 South show.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be a great organic kickback. I believe Carlos Chico would have a real honest conversation with her, and we would love that for the Black Effect iHeartRadio podcast network, by the way. Kamala should tap in with somebody like that kid, what's his name? Harry Sisson, I think his name is. He's all in on the Harris Walls campaign. I love Kai, but sending the VP to Kai just because Trump went to Aiden Ross, that's corny.
I'll pull up here at the Breakfast Club.
No, send the VP in her silk press someplace that doesn't look like she's copying Trump. That's what should happen.
All right, so he's not a fan. He feels like it makes her look like she's copying Trump. The article goes on to say, in other election news, Harris announced on Tuesday that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz will be her running mate. Be on the lookout for further updates on Charlamagne as well as Kamala Harris as the election on this website, which we got this content from Hot New Hip Hop. So Charlamagne feels like she's copying Trump, or at least that's what it looks like, going after Kai Cenat in direct response to, not in direct response, but after Trump was on Aiden Ross's stream, and he thinks that it's forced and it's not organic, and he's not against or opposed to political candidates like Harris hitting up streamers, but he feels as though it should be organic. And in his estimation, based on what we just saw there, I guess what he was saying is it's not organic because Cenat is either not interested in politics, or we just don't know what his politics are, or he has not necessarily expressed an interest in Harris. So according to him, those are guidelines for what constitutes organic or lack thereof. So what are your thoughts on Charlamagne's comments there about the Kamala Harris team attempting to reach out to Kai Cenat to get on one of his live streams?
I really feel as though that's, sound advice. I mean, if you're running a campaign, especially in today's modern age, you want to come off as organic as possible, but, politics and politicians and the word organic is an oxymoron to me. So everything that they do is a put on, and everything that they do is part of their theatrics of their campaign. And so when you're putting on a campaign, you have to look the part, do certain things, shake the hands, kiss the babies, do all the stuff that, you normally wouldn't do while you're actually in your presidency or whatever. So for him to suggest them to be organic, I don't have any issue with it, because this looks fake as hell. But everything she's done has been fake as hell thus far, as I'm concerned, And we already covered the Megan Thee Stallion, clapping it up on stage. And I also made light and made joke of her pandering to coloreds with her talks about greens. So she's going to keep the pandering up. She needs to do this. This is part of her campaign model. It's honestly been part of the Democratic model. And I think right now, really people that are either on the fence or, people that are actually Democratic, I think they're starting to look at this stuff and starting to get insulted. And so Kai, I mean, it was hilarious, watching his response to this. I was like, hey, man, you better chill out, young man. He was like, man, I got the Secret Service, blowing me up, over this. And that's intense stuff. So, of course, she's going to copy Trump. Of course, she's going to copy anything that looks like it's got steam, because she doesn't have steam of herself, on her own. So she has to fake the funk and attach herself to anybody at this point. The Boulay, by the way, are coming out in full throttle. So, all the old head comedians, all the old head actors and old head whoever talking figures, they're all backing her and saying that, you ain't black if you don't vote for her. But that's for the older people. The younger people, she needs to be able to reach out. So attempt A was Megan Thee Stallion. I don't think that really went over too well. Even from the baddies themselves or hotties themselves, they was like, hey, I'm a Meg fan, but there's a time and a place for all of this stuff. So even Meg fans had a problem with that. And so now Kai just airing her out. On his live, so all the little Fortnite kids, now they're starting to think she's a laughing stock. So that's not good either. That was actually bad PR on her behalf. So she should have did her research and actually seen if the guy was actually interested, instead of trying to strong arm the guy, hey man, it is what it is. But what are your thoughts, man? This whole Kamala thing or whatever her name is, this is really starting to become a sideshow, and I'm actually here for the shenanigans. This has been more entertaining than I think her actual presidency would be if she's actually president. But I like all this campaign stuff. It's tons of fun. But what are your thoughts, sir, on Charlamagne calling out Kamala Harris?
I hear what he's saying, but I don't agree with him. Well, I agree with him in principle, but I don't agree with him in this instance because, I'm not intimately knowledgeable of Megan Thee Stallion outside of her music, but to the best of my knowledge, I'm not sure I have heard Megan Thee Stallion expound on politics all that often, yet she somehow made her way to a rally on behalf of Kamala Harris in Atlanta, a hotbed for black folks, no less. So if my whole thing is if Megan Thee Stallion and Quavo can be present at a rally or on behalf of Kamala Harris, two individuals to whom I have not heard them talk about politics really at all, or express any sort of political leanings or thoughts on any sort on any of these matters, then why can't Kai Cenat invite her to a live stream? I'm not seeing the difference. They're both strategic targets to be able to galvanize a particular demographic. In the case of Megan Thee Stallion and Quavo, it's clearly to get black people. And in the case of Kai Cenat, it's to get young people. And since Kai Cenat is a black streamer, in a roundabout way, you can kind of kill two birds with one stone by getting black young people. Because I'm pretty sure that there's young black people who follow Kai Cenat and comment and be on his streams whenever he's doing whatever he's doing. Having live streams with people like Ice Spice and the rest of these weirdo modern day heroes that these kids look up to. So I don't really get where Charlamagne is coming from, because as far as I'm concerned, this is quite consistent with what we have been seeing thus far with this circus. I don't see the difference. If Megan Thee Stallion can be on stage twerking and shaking her ass and performing, telling the women of the world and all of her hotties that if they love their bodies, they know who to vote for, even though I'm fairly sure her body count is, whatever undisclosed amount, then I don't see a reason why Kai Cenat cannot be another person who is a part of the Kamala Harris brigade to ensure that she, along with the DNC, can maintain their stranglehold on some of these various demographics that historically they have been able to maintain a stranglehold over. That being, melanated Americans of African descent and younger people who are minorities and various other disenfranchised people. So frankly, I just don't see the difference. I don't get where Charlamagne is coming from. If we lived in principle times where people did things on principle, I'd understand where he was coming from. But as I intimated last week when we gave our updated thoughts on Kamala Harris when she, was getting roasted by what's that kid's name? Sway Lee. Was that last week or 2 weeks ago? Whenever it was that we did that topic. And I was saying, this is kind of par for the course with the way that these campaigns tend to operate. And I fully expect for them to do these sorts of things. But since I've relented, right, it's too much for me to say, hey, let's be above board and not have people like Megan Thee Stallion at the rally. Let's be a little more sophisticated and a little more intelligent and intentional in terms of getting people to, from the popular culture world, to be a part of what we like to do here, who can also speak at least moderately knowledgeable about some of the issues that people care about. No, you stoop to low-hanging fruit and get the rapper who's going to be twerking all the time. So because I expect for you to do that, I say balance it out by also bringing on intelligent people who hold influence outside of these various ecosystems. I mentioned names like Killer Mike, who's actually involved in local politics, who's also a rapper. So if you're if you need to get rappers because that's what you feel you need to do in order to galvanize the particular demographics that you're looking for, then at least offset people like Megan Thee Stallion with people like Killer Mike, who's also a rapper, but is also involved and knowledgeable and knows what he's talking about, and is someone to whom I would listen to if he wanted to expound on various issues, not somebody like Megan Thee Stallion, who talks about the most ratchet stuff all day, every day when it comes to her music, but then wants to tell women that her hotties need to vote for Kamala Harris if they love their bodies. Bring some sort of balance into the mix. And, you know, my cry for that last week was about accepting that this is the way things are, and they are not principled. And since things are not principled, and this is the way these campaigns operate, I don't think that it is inorganic at all for this campaign to reach out to an individual like Kai Cenat. I actually think it's the most organic thing in the world, according to the way modern politics work. And this is not something that is specifically endemic to the blue card carrying Democrats of the world. The red side does it as well. See Kid Rock's Jigaboom performance at the RNC last month. It's no different. Hulk Hogan ripping his shirt off. Like, everyone is doing this weird sideshow stuff.
Right.
But I don't hear what Charlamagne is saying, because we don't live in principled times anymore. We live in low-hanging fruit. Let's stoop to the lowest common denominator in order to cast the widest net possible. And when it comes to minorities, how do we cast the widest net possible? Grab some of these rappers. You know, when it comes to the other side and wanting to cast the widest net possible, let's get people who put Instagram live videos on their social media shooting AR-15s. That's what this stuff is. His point would be more well received on my part if we lived in more principled times, but because we don't, I don't really understand what he's saying. I would have been shocked if they didn't reach out to this kid, because this is what this stuff is in 2024. So if Meg can be at a rally helping for her to galvanize the black demographic, then Kai Cenat can be on a live stream with her so that she can try to galvanize the youth demographic.
Yeah, man. I mean, I agree. But again, I don't know how organic this woman can be, because let's just be honest, bro. You know, this lady, at least to me, she's fake as hell. She comes off as real, you know, non-authentic, like all over the place. Like, I don't even know what this woman's about outside of the stuff, you know, outside of pro-reproduction and rights.
Right. There you go. Yeah. You stopped short. Yeah, you needed the rights part, because she's not pro-reproduction.
She's not pro-reproduction. She's actually anti-reproduction.
Right.
So, you know, her doing that, you know, her stance on border things. So she you know, she's pretty open and straight to the point about what she's really about. And in everything else, you just don't seem to know what's going on there. Everything seems to be a cackling laugh or Donald Trump's fault. And the crazy thing about it is they're still blaming Trump for stuff. I'm talking about Harris and them. And y'all been in office for 4 years. So my thing is, well, why are things still his fault? Shouldn't you guys been in there fixing it already? You know, or doing something, putting, you know, boots to the ground to get these things, you know, ratified later? But no, man, they're just sitting around here, you know, throwing stones and saying anything that doesn't pertain to Americans' real concerns. So the only thing she was gonna do was get on Kai's live, trying to get streaming numbers like Kevin Hart or something. What does she think this is gonna be? What y'all think y'all was gonna get in there and do? So what you was gonna dance? She should have did this. In hindsight, she should have did this, because I want to see how low she was gonna go. Literally, figuratively, and literally. Because I didn't see the Aiden Ross Trump thing, but I can guarantee you this: Trump wasn't going to drop it like it was hot. And but Kamala Harris, who knows what she was going to do? She was going to put on something and start shaking her hips, to show how cool she is. Hey guys, don't you guys want a president like me? Woo-hoo-hoo-hoo-hoo. It's like, hey, what are you really here to? What are your policies? So people keep hollering about what's your policies, and as I mentioned, it's really only two that everybody's knows about for the most part, because that's the only thing she talks about. So I think we know what it's going to look like when she's already in office. Everything's going to be the same but worse, and and everybody's supposed to be happy about it. So this whole thing is just again, it's laughable to me. But also concerning, in the grand scheme of things, because this is what they've done to us. They gave us these two people, and they said, "Choose, Americans, choose." And it's like, man. And at some point, I guess it's going to have to be the millennials to really just go, "Hey, man, we're not doing this. We're not doing this anymore." I mean, we really do, I hope, have a choice, and to not just participate in this type of shenanigans where they're giving you Pepsi or Coke. Pepsi or Coke, man, which one do you want? And it's like, well, I know there's other soft drinks out there. He's like, nope, Pepsi or Coke, and that's all they force on everybody. So everybody's Pepsi or everybody's Coke, and and that's what we're doing. But honestly, I think by now we should all know that that soda is not good for us anyway. So why do we even have to choose a soda? So I think the people really have to start trying to think of another way of looking at this political system, for the future, for the future's sake, because this horse and pony show, they're not going to stop. And they're disconnected with the people that seems to be at an all-time high. I mean, they really are on another planet with where people are currently at. They feel
to me, they have the greatest disconnect with the people to whom they claim to be the most concerned for, which is the people who are the backbone, the people who actually do the work in this country. Right. Like, yes, if you earn 6 figures a year, and if you're building bridges, and if you're curing cancer, and if you're working in hospitals, or otherwise, if you're wealthy generationally, or if you're in that top 1 or top 10%, everything is great for you. But the individuals to whom the backbone of this country is made out of, the people who are actually working physically, doing blue collar work, doing manual labor, that's where the disconnect is. And that's the people they claim to care about the most. But coincidentally, those are also the people who are getting the most left behind. And I think that's where the angst and the outrage is coming from. But as I have said over and over and over again, these individuals seem to be allergic to actually being specific about what the hell they are going to implement that is going to ease some of the anxieties of the majority of this population. That's 65 to 70% of the people to whom that qualifies, working class people. People who depend on a check. They just don't seem to be able to do it. And all people are asking for is, can you do it? And then people like you are have become so indifferent towards it and apathetic, rightfully so, because you're not hearing these needed talking points.
Correct.
The border is what, I don't want to get political because I'm not the most politically astute person, but people who are working jobs in this country and earning salaries, they don't give a shit about the border. That's what I'm saying about when it comes to this stuff. Most people out here who are waking up every day, taking their kids to school, and then going to work for 8 hours a day are not thinking about the border. They're not. And people who are coming into this country across the border are not taking their jobs. So then that's another aspect of this fear mongering that has people petrified, and it's a fallacy. It's false evidence appearing real. It's not real. Like, no jobs are being taken by people running across the border. Like, no one's hopping into an office. Like, no one's coming across the border and hopping into an office and taking a salaried position. The jobs that these individuals are occupying are jobs that a lot of people are not applying for in the first place. So they're vacancies. They're not being taken away from anybody. But, you know, that's the disconnect. The greatest swath of people in this country, people who are just earning a living, that's the greatest disconnect. And they're not talking to them, and people are getting mad about it. Really, all these individuals care about, as far as I can tell, in my opinion, is the people who are affluent, upwardly mobile, people who are approaching that six-figure barrier, whether you're combining incomes or you're doing single incomes, or the wealthy. That's what I see happening, in my opinion. And I could be wrong, but I don't think so based upon what I'm observing. So they need to fix that. And until they do, you're going to get cynics like me and you who are going to run our mouths on channels like this, calling BS on a lot of this stuff. Even though at the end of the day, I will still say she should have been on that. He should have let her on that live stream, because that is politics in the modern day.
I mean, it would have really been, the crazy part about it is that he had to decline.
Yeah.
That's the crazy part. A streamer declines a presidential candidate. This is where we're at.
You can't make that up. Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It would have been so golden. Because if she was willing to stoop that low to reach down to a streamer, then she would have gotten even more humiliating on the stream itself. I think. Can you imagine
if it was a streamer who knew about politics and was gonna grill her? How that would have went?
That would have been great too, because it's live. But one thing about it, they gave him a list, and you better adhere to it, sir. You go off script, man. You know what I'm saying? You might be off script soon. So don't mess with those dudes in the black suits. But then again, if they're the same people in the black suits that was defending Trump, who knows, man? They might not even get it done. Yeah, man, this is definitely turned into, I mean, between this and the Olympics, which we will cover, I mean, this has just been the messiest political season. Like the last few, honestly, have gotten even progressive, more and more progressively messier.
Yeah.
And so this one's shaping up to be the same. So yeah, man, Kamala, keep it up with the great laughs. I mean, I love the trying and the failing here. Now, if she was a real person trying and failing, that's not funny. But when you're a fake person trying to do something, like Drake, and then you're trying and then failing because you're fake, I find that hilarious. At some point, you're gonna realize that being real is the solution, and then by being real, you'll actually have people on your side. Real people. But real people recognize real, and they see fake from a mile away. And from this woman, she's so far away. You know what I'm saying? Most people can't see it. But hey, man, when you got these bifocals, these real bifocals, you can definitely see some fakeness coming from around the corner. So she can keep it up, keep trying and failing. She missed with Kai Cenat, but somebody's gonna say yes to something, and I'll be right there to watch her embarrass herself. So yeah, Charlamagne, you get a pass on this one, bro. Normally I'm here to grill you, but you got somebody. I got bigger fish to fry right now, man. So I'll let you slide right now.
Yeah, I hear what he's saying, but we don't live in principled times anymore. We don't.
Nah, dude.
And so I would have been shocked if they didn't reach out to him. But I give him credit for declining, because he's like, this ain't my world. I don't do politics. And I can respect that for sure. I don't know too much about him, but I can certainly respect that position. It is what it is, man. People are just so over this crap, this garbage, and, we'll continue to talk about it whenever applicable on the channel, of course. But, Miss Harris, I think you need to do yourself a favor. and start regularly issuing talking points in which you get specific about the things people care about. If you would at least attempt to do that, maybe people such as myself would not be so cynical towards the prospect of you actually running this place. But until she figures that part out, it's going to continue to be a sideshow. And right now, you are correct. People here on the ground in this nation are unfortunately being asked to choose between two sideshows. And it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. You know, it's like, which circus do you want to go to? This one or that one? They're both circus, but just pick one.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And why do we have to go to a circus, period? That's my point.
Yeah.
So.
I'd rather go to the theater. Send me to the theater. You know?